Hi, Jill with another painting video here for you. This is a loose and casual pony painting. I think it's an achievable painting for beginners or intermediate artists using oil paint, also acrylics obviously. I'm going to give a list of the colours I used in a moment, but let's get into it. Just pause the screen now if you want to take a closer look at these colours. They're pretty self-explanatory, but if there's anything you need to know, just drop it a question in the comments below. So the first thing I do when I'm doing these kinds of little paintings, this was actually a commission. I got 2 commissions for a similar painting, which was a brown pony, from customers this week. So if you can hear that noise in the background, that's my cat scratching the place up. What I'm doing now is I'm just sketching it in a colour that's kind of complements the final pony, and I'm just trying to place it on the canvas. It's quite a small canvas, so you want it to have a kind of nice even space around it. You don't want it to fill the canvas too much unless you're going for that particular style. But I like these kinds of paintings where it's just maybe one subject, an animal or a portrait. I like the subject to have space around it to give it context, or it just makes it look prettier. It's just prettier on the eye. I don't really know how to describe that. This is where the burnt sienna comes in. You can see I'm blocking in now with burnt sienna. This isn't the final shape. I will work on this shape as I go. But this is just blocking in. This is just showing me roughly where everything is going to go and how this pony is going to work. So then I start to block in some highlights. The mane obviously is lighter on this pony, and there's some obvious darker spots on the background on his bottom, and I like to put in the background. In this case it's going to be a nice snowy background for 2 reasons. One is that it looks nice around the pony, and 2, I don't know, the pony just seems like it's got that sort of shabby wintry coat on, fluffy rather, not shabby, shaggy maybe was the right word, and I just like to start getting that around the pony, so it doesn't just feel like I'm sort of painting something floating in space. And also, it also helps me to understand the negative spaces around the pony. So you can see in the front 2 legs, I know that the space between those, the negative space between those legs, tells me that front leg, the very front leg, is not right, because the angles inside the negative space aren't right. So that really will help me adjust that leg later. I obviously haven't noticed it yet. Well, there we go, I have. So there we go. So that really helped. Before I get too far into the painting, that tells me a lot. So just by darkening the ground beneath the pony, I'm sort of anchoring the pony now into some sort of contextual landscape, so that it's it's looking like a real background now, even though it's still very plain. What I also like to do is sort of jump around the painting, and this helps me see the whole picture as I'm painting along, rather than focusing up close on one particular bit and then finding out actually I've got that completely wrong, it doesn't fit with the rest, it doesn't look right. So I just like to flit around with the painting, and I think that's common with a lot of artists, and probably in many creative industries the same. I write, and I know for a fact that I flit around when I'm writing. I have a very clear vision of some chapters and scenes, although I'm not always entirely sure where they're going to go and how they're going to fit into the whole picture. And then what I will have is a general overview of the whole book, which I'll write in one go, and then I will try and work in these sort of crucial scenes to give the book more meaning and depth, and what have you. I think in Hollywood they call it like backwards engineering as well. So you come up with a rough overview, much like you do with a painting, and then you will re-engineer, you will go back over it, and that's very much like a painting. You go back over and you add more detail and refinement as you go along. It's actually exactly the same. One is just painting, the other is writing. If you want me to do any videos on writing and publishing on Amazon, and let me know. I also do colouring books and all sorts of things, and I can show you the formatting and what have you, but I'm only going to do that if you're interested. If you express your interest in the comments below, I might do some of those videos. Anyway, let's get back to the painting. So what I've been doing here is adding the darks and the highlights, particularly looking at the highlight, the darks under the shadow of his mane and the back of his tail. And then of course he's got a whiter nose. He's got a very dark spot underneath with the receding back leg. So what I'm trying to do is get the value range right, because although it's overall quite a light painting, the pony's tan and the background is snowy, I want the value range to be right, because that's what gives the finished painting the depth. The detail doesn't necessarily. If you look at some of John Singer Sargent's paintings, you will notice that he gets the realness from the values being absolutely 100% correct. So sometimes if you look close up, his paintings can be quite abstract. But once you step away, because the values are absolutely dead on, the darks, the range between the darkness and the lightness in the subject is spot on, then you know, the painting comes to life. Let me give you an example. So I bet you can't tell what this is right up until the last minute when it becomes crystal clear. It's a beautiful portrait called Portrait of a Child by John Singer Sargent. And if we zoom in on this part of the painting alone, you can see the brushwork is quite rough, and they're just simple strokes. There's no blending. You know, that you can see them all over this particular example, but if you look at the larger picture also, it's evident everywhere. And yet when you zoom out of the painting, et voila, you have a beautiful refined piece of art. Zoom closer in on my pony, you can see a similar effect being achieved here in the early stages of the painting. And then if you take a look at this next clip, you'll see how the snow and those loose brush strokes actually add like a three-dimensional element to the painting by keeping the snow rough and unblended. So I'm just going to show you this clip fast forwarded. This was the second of the two pony paintings that I did, and I happened to just get this better on video, this sort of close up, and you can see those loose brush strokes, and you can see how I build up from the darks to the light without actually blending, and how that makes it really look like pony mane. And this is right up my street for oil painting. I do more detailed work in my ink and watercolours, which I also like to keep a little bit loose and sketchy. But with oil, I just think the sort of style of John Singer Sargent is just so beautiful, and it suits it so much. I know a lot of people like to do realism and hyper-realism and all the rest of it, but I like art to kind of look like art rather than a photograph, so I like to keep the artist's eye needs to be part of the painting for me. It needs to be an element of the painting. You know, I like all styles, I must admit. But anyway, let's get back to this painting. So you can see how I've used now the raw umber and the burnt sienna in the body of the painting, in the body of the pony. And on the mane and tail, I have lightened it, rather, trying to find the words, with the Naples yellow. So that it, you know, it still has the warmth of the pony underneath. So this is now adding detail over the blocks that so you've put in now your value range, so you know what the dark bits are and you know what the light bits are. And now we're adding those strokes like we just saw in the John Singer Sargent painting. We're not going to be blending, we're just going to be putting the strokes on top and using them to create the illusion, when you stand back from the painting, of a quite detailed piece, whereas in actual fact it's nice and loose, and we're just using the value range and the strokes, and obviously the shapes. The shapes must be right. Obviously the drawing has to be right for you to be able to pull the John Singer Sargent illusion off. And obviously, if you look at his, going back to him, if you look at his pencil drawings, you will see how good he is at actually drawing. So that's an important part to get right when you are painting. And now we're just going to finish off really doing more details, making the snow look more realistic, and making the shadow in the snow pull the pony down onto earth, give it some context. And that's really it. When you're painting, you're just blocking in, getting the value range, restating the value range. I often go back several times to restate darks, which can sometimes get a bit lost and muddy as you add more details and layers over. Refining the shapes, so I refine the negative shapes around the pony also. Make sure the backside is the right curve, the thrust of the front leg is right, the negative spaces between the legs are right, and that's all you're really doing. You can see I just restating the blacks in the pony's hoof, and where the shadows are, and that's all you're doing in painting really. Once you've got the essential drawing right, the energy in the painting right, you've got the colours right, all you're doing then is refining down to smaller and smaller strokes. I rarely blend in oil painting. I'm more likely to go over with smaller strokes rather than blend. I'm not big on blending in oil painting. That's not really what I like to do. I like the roughness and the energy in unblended strokes. Anyhow, so really for a loose painting like this, we're at the final stages really. Just adding some snowflakes to the horse and we're almost done. If you like this video and you found it really helpful, please subscribe, click the notification bell and the like button, and share with any of your arty friends. And that's it. There we are. A beautiful little portrait of a brown pony in the snow. Hope you liked it. See you in the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching.